Can you use one word to describe the current housing crisis here in New York City?
Trash.
Fucked up.
Right.
It's pretty shitty at the moment. There could be a lot more improvements.
I'm indifferent.
One word to describe New York City housing? Trash.
I think it's very frustrating and very concerning.
Behind each of those words is a story of people pushed into the margins, of families priced out, of communities fractured. But for thousands of young people in New York City, the housing crisis doesn't mean a smaller apartment or a longer commute. It means no home at all. Every night, an estimated 4,000 young people are homeless in this city. Some are escaping abuse, others aged out of the foster care system with nowhere to go. Many are simply unseen. And when you're 16, 17, 18, on the street alone, survival becomes the only priority. For many, that survival means turning to something, anything that numbs the pain. Substance use for these youth isn't just a risk, it is often a refuge. To understand this crisis, we need to hear from those on the front lines.
My name is Dr. Shakima North Albert. I'm the CEO of Covenant House New York. So Covenant House New York's mission is to provide housing and support services for young people who are experiencing homelessness. And we do that through a number of ways. In addition to providing stable and safe housing, we also provide key wraparound services for young people that we think is critical for them to sustain themselves beyond their time with us. And so that includes mental health support, physical health support. That also includes job training, employment resources, resources for school, legal services, and things of that nature. The causes of youth homelessness vary. It really just depends on the young person and their experience. That really helps us to kind of identify what led them to youth homelessness or to be homeless as a young person. And some of those issues are around trafficking. So a young person could have experienced human trafficking, whether that be sex trafficking or labor trafficking. Some young people grew up in an abusive home, and them becoming homeless was a means of escape for them. We also have a number of young people who identify as LGBTQ+, and for them, they were rejected by their families because they came out to them and their families are not accepting of who they are. And so, home no longer became a safe place for them. And so they found themselves in a position where they had to seek safety and also seek a space where they can live their true and authentic selves.
Research indicates that homeless youth are significantly more likely to engage in substance use compared to their housed peers. Estimates suggest that 48% to 55% of homeless youth consume alcohol, in contrast to 7.5% among housed youth.
Youth turn to many different things to cope with the fact that they are experiencing homelessness. Some young people turn to faith or lean into faith that they have always had. Some young people do turn to substances.
Substance abuse can both lead to and result from homelessness. The stress and trauma associated with living without stable housing often exacerbate mental health issues, leading some individuals to use substances as a coping mechanism.
What we see here at Covenant House New York is really a marijuana dependency. So it's not like in some other cities where we have Covenant House sites like California, for example, where there might be a strong dependence on opioids or fentanyl or some of the other types of drugs that folks who are in desperate times and desperate situations typically lean on as a way of coping. Covenant House New York is really just marijuana dependency that we see with young people, and our approach to that really is a harm reduction approach. So we don't take the position of, where we say, you got to stop doing that, right? We want to know why it is, right, that you have grown dependent on use of marijuana so that we can help to give you the tools to heal from those things that have led you to that substance, right, as a form of coping. And then, we talk about ways to reduce the harm, right? And so It is a process that many of our young people go through with our mental health practitioners. And young people come to a point where they get to a place of hope, right? And so when you have hope and can identify hopefulness in your situation, then you're less likely to lean to other substances to cope.
According to the Harm Reduction International, harm reduction is the most cost-effective and evidence-based way to keep people sober and safe. For those with cannabis dependency, harm reduction looks like CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy and alternative avenues of consumption of marijuana.
For me, I think homelessness as a young person is different than adult homelessness. It's because by the time a young person becomes an adult and is homeless, they have found themselves in a category that we would call chronic. And there are a lot of different factors involved in causing someone to be chronically homeless. And part of that really deals with a lot of mental health challenges and mental health challenges that have not been addressed. And I also think that there are not a lot of resources for adults who become homeless in the way that they are for young people who become homeless. And so there's really been a push so that if a young person becomes homeless, we do all that we can to try to help them to get to a point of stability and house before they become adults. And we give them the tools that they need, right? So again, whether that is getting them a job or helping them to get through school or giving them the mental health resources that they need to cope with the trauma that they have experienced from whatever situation that led them to become homeless. And then once we do that, you become an individual that is healthier and whole and are able to sustain yourself once you get to your apartment in a way that is different for the types of resources that are provided for those who are adult and chronically homeless. We are very big on building positive relationships with young people. Without a positive relationship, none of the work that we do will stick, really. And no young person that comes through our doors will be open to receiving the services that we provide. So one of the things that I am really big on as the leader of this space is ensuring that all of our staff work to build a positive relationship with a young person, because the statistics show and the studies show that young people who have a positive relationship with at least one caring adult will fare better in life. And so our way of helping young people to deal with substance abuse, any type of addiction, is to first work to build a positive relationship so that the guard starts to come down and trust is built in that sense, so that we can really begin to help.
To break the cycle of youth homelessness and substance abuse, we must start long before a young person ends up on the street. Prevention begins at home. With stronger support for families, mental health services in school, and early intervention for signs of abuse, neglect, or instability. We need more affordable housing, better access to trauma-informed care, and systems that don't abandon young people when they age out of foster care or leave juvenile detention. For those already at risk, outreach must be immediate, compassionate, and consistent, meeting youth where they are and guiding them towards safety and support. This is not just about shelter. It is about healing the root causes: childhood trauma, systemic neglect, and generational poverty. Until we address these truths, the cycle will continue. But with the right investment, the right policies, and the right people, it can be stopped.